it is exactly 1 week until the beginning of my final hand-in for university, as I'm sure I've mentioned enough. And when I say the beginning, I mean when we are able to start putting up the show. So it was starting to get kind of on in the day. I'm filming this on Wednesday, so hopefully it will be out today and you're watching it the time it's intended to be uploaded. And I was kind of thinking I'm running out of time and I won't have time to film a video for this week, but I really wanted to get one out for you. So this might not be the longest video again. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, when everything's a bit more settled down, we'll return to the normal kind of schedule that I'd had planned. But for today's video, I wanted to just use this book that I found at a kind of bargain bookstore near where I live a couple of years ago. Sometimes I'll just kind of pull it off my bookshelf and I'll just flick through for inspiration or just to distract myself. Each pair of pages has its own dedicated space for a letter. And I think that I've actually, now that I'm talking about it, I'm 99% sure that I've talked about it before, but in a larger video of my book collection. So I probably only got to talk about it for a couple of minutes, and not all of you will have seen that. But basically it's a collection of photographic images of various ways that letters can be found in kind of urban environment. So for example, from this page you can see that some people have decided to hand paint a sign, or make it out of neon, or stencil it, or create it out of wood, or carve it out of wood, or metal, or gold, or spray paint, or just using negative space. And it's just a really nice book, just for all the reasons I said. So I'm going to flick through on a couple of the letters. I might stop to read the attached kind of paragraph that they've written with it. With each letter they give the kind of history of how that letter started, and its evolution over time. So I will read the first one just as an example, and then we'll flick through the book together. So the letter A has remained the first letter of the alphabet for the whole of its history. The Phoenicians called it Alep, meaning ox. Early forms of the letter shows it upside down, in contrast to today's version, drawn crudely like an ox's head with two horns sticking up. So a bit more like that. I've lost my place. The Phoenicians used the symbol for the first sound of Alep, which was a glottal stop, the sound made in the middle of the word bottle, in, for example, a London accent of English. When the Greeks adopted the letter, they renamed it Alpha, which became the first part of the word alphabet. They used it for the vowel sound A, as in cat or car. So A. It kept this sound in most European languages, but in England, as a result of the great vowel shift between 1450 and 1700, the a in words such as name, I keep getting this wrong, such as name, which was pronounced naam in the 14th century, became an a sound. Vowel sounds seem more likely to change than consonants, and there are many different versions of the sound in the middle of pass, for example, within and between countries, even those speaking the same language. So as I might have mentioned in the brief kind of look at this book, when I showed part of my book collection, I like to go through and pick my favourites from each page or double page spread. And I find that it changes often. I would suspect that I'd naturally go for this one because it's a hand-painted sign with gold leaf gilded. But sometimes I really like this one because it's just naturally there in the stone. Well, I assume naturally. I like this one for the same reason, of it kind of being an aged, sign-painted piece. But I also like that one, just because I tend to like letters over shutters. But I think my favourite today is actually this one, just because of the curvedness of it, and it's kind of treating the letter in the most visually interesting way on the page. Apart from perhaps this one, but I felt it's a bit too girly. There's a sign painter in the city where I live who often does really elaborate hand-painted signs like this one, with really great fades and finger blending or airbrushing sometimes. I've worked on a lot of reverse glass stuff lately, so I'm not very good at reverse glass finger blending shades, and I need to practice it a little bit more. It's always a little bit kind of splotchy. Again, for some reason I'm really liking this one. I think it's the fact that it's kind of imperfect and it's been carved out of what I assume is metal, perhaps, or stone, I can't really tell. And then kind of painted a little bit shabbily, but at least some effort has gone into it. Well, not originally, but straight away, immediately, when I opened that page, this one was the one that drew me the most. Even though the lights aren't on, that kind of carnival or circus or fun fair kind of aesthetic, I really like it. It just makes me quite happy seeing the kind of glow of the lights. And even though I've been in a bit of it's quite a stressful time, but it also doesn't help. I suppose it does help so that I can't procrastinate, but it doesn't help that the weather outside has been so terrible lately here. We had a little bit of sunshine for a while, but that's firmly gone away now, and it's the most kind of miserable weather outside. So even though I'd love for the sun to come back, when it's winter and it gets dark at 3 p.m. and I don't know, just the aesthetic of being kind of cozy and wrapping up warm in the winter and going to a kind of fun fair or carnival with the lights kind of being like a warm beacon pulling you in. I've always really liked that. I was immediately drawn to this one. For some reason it reminded me of The Simpsons. I have no idea why. I think I was just drawn to it because the letter itself and the use of the shadow is quite common in sign painting, but I've never really seen a kind of wobbly little drop shadow, and I really, really like it. It's the only one on the page that makes me really kind of wonder what the rest of the words said. I wonder how many of these are taken from a sign that says no parking. That one's interesting. There's a pub kind of restaurant, foodie kind of place a bit near me that I haven't actually ever gone to, and they normally have fairly decent kind of chalkboards up outside. But for some reason the latest one, as someone that wants to become a sign painter as well, it's particularly painful to walk past or bike past. They've written jazz night, but the S's are Z, no, the Z's are S's, so it says jazz night, and that's being held on the 22nd of May, and for some reason the 2 is drawn like that. So it's got an odd little, I don't know. I can't tell if they were trying to make a kind of style out of it. But I really want to kind of go out in the night and fix it myself. I really like this one for some reason. And that one, I wonder why it's kind of been faded away. And I'm always drawn to neon. There's last year I went to go by myself to see an exhibition of a sign painter in London, and I had just enough time afterwards to go to see God's Own Junkyard, which is an amazing place in London, where they just collect thousands and thousands of different neon signs and some ordinary signs, and you walk in and you're just kind of taken over by it. Because the letter I is so thin, they've been able to fit a lot more in. That one's awful. I almost, I think that's probably part of one of those kind of, those signs that say like, a price of a like a chicken meal deal. It looks like that kind of vibe. I like this one though, although I think I would assume that would be a number 1, but the person that took the photo must have seen it in context. I like this one. It's interesting when you get to see letters that you've already seen before in that style, so you know that you can kind of piece some of the That one's really interesting. It's odd, it looks like it's the remnants of a poster that has been peeled away, but it forms an M and I'm not sure how that happened. Those 3 are perfect. I do like when people combine letters, so for example, a lot of the time when sign painters create pieces that say tattoo or tattooist or tattoo shop, etc., they'll combine the O's and sometimes join the T's together, and I always like those little details. That one's really nice and interesting. It looks like it's melted almost. It's getting to the end of the alphabet, it seems. Or it might just be ones where they didn't have so many examples. There's only one page. I quite like that one. I'm not sure why. It's not even hand painted, but it just kind of leapt out at me. And this one too. I always really admire the craftsmanship that goes behind carving. I wish I had the patience for things like that. Ones like that make me laugh. They also make me wonder what the rest of the words are. And I really like that, just because of the absence of part of it. person who did that Z in spray paint will ever know that that is in a book that's probably available internationally. I really like this one. I think it's probably just a poster that's been printed and put up somewhere. But I like it. So, it then goes on to numbers, but so that this video isn't too long to render and you can watch it tonight, I'm going to leave it at that.